Have you ever wondered what it would be like to achieve peak performance? To do something that feels, well, totally impossible? What if I told you it wasn't some gift you're born with, but a skill you could actually learn? We're going to break down the science behind doing the impossible and turn it from some crazy dream into a real practical playbook. This whole idea, this whole quest, it actually started with a simple magic trick. The author, Stephen Kotler, was just a kid, maybe 9 years old, when his little brother made a sponge ball just vanish into thin air. And he knew his brother wasn't actually magic. That led him to this incredible realization. If it wasn't magic, it had to be a process. It meant the impossible had a formula. So that brings us to the big question, right? The one we're really digging into here. Is achieving what feels impossible in our own lives just some kind of magic trick we watch other people perform from the sidelines? Or is it a skill, something we can actually learn and get good at ourselves? First things first, we need to be clear about what we mean by impossible. Kotler actually splits it into two different types. First, you've got capital I impossible. Think moonshots, stuff that changes the world, huge breakthroughs. But then there's lowercase I impossible, and this is where it gets really personal. This is about you, the things you believe are impossible for you. Starting that business, running a marathon, whatever your personal impossible is. So, how do you even begin to create a formula that works for everyone's unique impossible? Well, the secret isn't in our personalities. We're all different, right? What works for an extrovert might not work for an introvert. Here's the key insight from the Flow Research Collective. Personality doesn't scale, but biology scales. The formula works because it's built on the one thing we all share, our fundamental neurobiology. And look, when we talk about a formula, we're not being all metaphorical here. We mean something very specific, almost like a recipe or a computer algorithm. It's a sequence of steps that anyone, and that includes you, can follow to get consistent results. It's a practical, repeatable process. So, what's in this formula? It really boils down to 4 core skills, 4 pillars that hold the whole thing up. It starts with motivation. Then you need learning. After that, creativity. And finally, the thing that just turbocharges everything, flow. Let's start with that first one, motivation. This is your engine. It's the initial spark, right? It's the psychological fuel that gets you off the couch and actually into the game of chasing down your impossible. Now, you've got 2 kinds of fuel for that engine. Extrinsic drivers, think money, fame, status, they work great, but only up to a point. Research shows that once our basic needs are met, which is around 75 grand a year, their power really starts to fade. That's when intrinsic drivers take over. We're talking curiosity, passion, purpose. This is the high-octane, long-burn fuel you need for the really hard stuff. Okay, so motivation gets you started. But it's not enough to keep you going, right? The road to impossible is always going to be a long one. That brings us to our second pillar, learning. This is what keeps you in the game. It's the skill that lets you adapt and grow and build the expertise you're going to need. And when it comes to learning, one of the biggest life hacks out there is reading books. Just look at the return on investment here. A 3-minute blog post, that gets you about 3 days of someone's work. A 20-minute article gets you 4 months. But a book, you trade 5 hours of your time for, get this, 15 years of someone's condensed knowledge and experience. That is an absolutely insane bargain for your brain. All right, so you're motivated, you're in the game, you're learning. But the path to impossible is never a straight line, is it? It's full of twists and turns. That's where the third pillar, creativity, comes in. This is your steering wheel, your navigation system. It's how you get around unexpected roadblocks and figure out new solutions when the old map doesn't work anymore. And creativity isn't some kind of magic spark that just happens. It's literally your brain at work. It's this incredible dance between 3 different brain networks. You've got the executive attention network for focus, the imagination network for daydreaming and connecting weird ideas, and then the salience network acts like a switchboard operator, toggling between the 2 so you can spot which of your new ideas are actually important. This brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the one that ties all the others together and just puts everything into overdrive, flow. This isn't just about playing the game. It's about turbo boosting your results, pushing them way beyond what you thought was possible. And when I say turbo boost, I am not kidding. How much of a boost are we talking? Well, studies show that when you're in a flow state, things like motivation, productivity, and creativity can all spike by up to 500%. Let that sink in. 500%. That is a game-changing level of amplification.
So what is this state? You know it. We've all felt it at some point. Flow is simply an optimal state of consciousness where we feel our best and we perform our best. It's being in the zone, where you're so totally absorbed in what you're doing that time just seems to disappear. And the coolest thing is, getting into flow isn't some accident. It's a predictable 4-stage cycle that you can actually train. It always starts with struggle, that period where you're pushing hard and getting frustrated. Then you have to release, step away from the problem. That's what allows you to drop into the flow state. And just as important is the final stage, recovery, which sets you up to do it all over again.
Now, I really want to drive this point home. This entire framework, motivation, learning, creativity, and flow, this is not just for extreme athletes jumping out of planes or tech billionaires in Silicon Valley. This is a practical, usable playbook for your impossible, your personal lowercase I impossible.
And when you start using this playbook, it changes how you look at everything. Peak performance stops being about a single finish line. It becomes an infinite game. In an infinite game, the goal isn't to win, because there is no winning. The real goal is to just keep playing, to keep exploring your own potential for the rest of your life.
And that really brings us to the core message of all this research, this powerful idea from Kotler himself. This infinite game, it's available to every single one of us. Because as he puts it, we are all capable of so much more than we know. That extraordinary potential is just waiting inside you to be unlocked.
So there you have it, the art of impossible. It's not magic, it's a formula grounded in biology, a combination of motivation, learning, creativity, and flow. The only real question left, the one that really matters, is what about you? Now you have the formula. What is your impossible?